where did we leave off in chapter 4, and where are we going to now?
So the first 4 pieces are somewhat of an island within the 13 pieces that are 𝗪 HaKodesh, that talk about the wisdom of holiness as opposed to worldly wisdom. And when I say opposed to worldly wisdom, as we learned in the 4th piece, it's not that the two are opposed to each other in the way that there's some sort of pushback against worldly wisdom. The idea is that 𝗪 HaKodesh seeks to synthesize worldly wisdom in a way that it tells or offers worldly wisdom a chance at saying, how ought this be used? How should a person use this particular wisdom? And so after the first 4 pieces, Rav Kook takes a little bit of a left turn, and the next 3 pieces are about what I would call quantum wisdom.
Okay. Is it the spiritual wisdom complements the physical, or is it the other way around, do you think, more?
Well, I want to think carefully about your question. Is it that the spiritual wisdom complements worldly wisdom, or the other way around? Well, I wouldn't even call, so that's part of the trick. 𝗪 HaKodesh doesn't necessarily mean spiritual versus physical, right? Because as we pointed out in the first piece, physical, or I guess let's take mathematics as an example, which is very difficult to do, but if mathematics in some way is attempting to make you into a different person, if the learning of this wisdom is so that, I'll give you an example. One of my great teachers, Rabbi Baruch Simon, watching this man pay for something, which is basically an exercise in him doing math, is a spiritual experience.
Why'd you say it's like an exercise in doing math?
Well, because he's taking, this thing costs $5.50, and so he takes out, a $5 bill or 5 ones, and he carefully counts them and puts them on the table, not in a way that looks odd,
obsessive.
It's not an obsessive thing. It's a delicate care, and he'll take out the money and he'll put it on the table in front of the person that he's paying for, a salad or something like that, and he'll take out the money, and then when he gets the change back, also just making sure exactly if he doesn't have exact change, and it's my kid's math homework from last night. That's what he was doing. He was trying to figure out how to add some basic numbers, but it's being utilized in a way where there's nothing spiritual going on here. It's a man buying a salad, but the care with which, how could I take something that doesn't belong to me, or how could I not return something that was accidentally given to me if the change was off or something like that? And every day, 3 times a day, when I'm eating, or whenever I'm involved in any sort of transaction, it's an opportunity to make sure that I'm living in accordance with the way that things ought to be. And even though that same mechanism for being able to give somebody money, or to receive money, or to transfer an object from where is something which, there are microeconomics classes, there's macroeconomics classes that could tell you how to get more of this stuff, or what's a good way of investing. Spiritual wisdom, or again, that's why I don't prefer that word, holy wisdom, is where I then say, well, how can I use this in a way that will bring holiness into the world?
Make it proper.
Yeah.
Properliness. Sort of bad word, but yeah.
So that's what we're up to.
So that's where we're up to. Okay. So then where does Rav Kook basically then, with all of this, where does he want to take us now? This quantum chokhmah idea. What's the name of this chapter, by the way?
So the 5th chapter is called 𝗪 which means the call to the mysterious. Sod means a secret. Secret here doesn't mean something that I'm not supposed to tell somebody else. It probably is best translated as something which is ineffable. It's not possible to describe. And that's why I called it quantum wisdom, because it's paradoxical in its nature. And as soon as you claim to understand it, that means you're not on the level of the secret anymore. You've explicated it to the point where it is now the simple interpretation that begs a deeper understanding as well. So the kriya l'sodit means the call towards that which is ever deeper. So there are 3 points in this particular piece, and I'll just quickly summarize them. The first point that Rav Kook makes is that when the call to mystery comes to the world, whether it's in 𝗪𝗪𝗼𝗍 HaKodesh, whether we're talking about in holy wisdom, or whether we're talking about in worldly wisdom, whether there's a movement towards a deeper understanding of what commandments are, what mitzvot are, theological understanding of how we interact with the creator of the world, something like that. Or on the other hand, just trying to figure out, how do we move technology slightly further and be able to do things we weren't able to do before. When the call for that which used to be mysterious comes, there is nothing in the world that can stop it. There's no longer going to be a kind of settling on a low-resolution spirituality or a low-resolution physical interfacing with the world. We want it to be deeper and more in our capacity for understanding. That's really point number one.
The search never ends, basically. The depth is limitless,
right?
And
that's
that
what makes
call,
it.
That call is the secret. That's the secret, really. Is keep going. There's more. It never ends.
Yeah, the Talmud says that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, was gifted, or through hard work, got to 49 different stages of understanding of Bina, of which there are 50. And the Hasidic master, specifically the first Rabbi, the 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗍𝗏, explained that the 50th level of understanding is understanding that there is always a level that you haven't gotten to yet. In other words, he got to the 49th level minus that 50th level. What that means on a deeper level is he got to a place where he had understood that there's always going to be something that I can't understand. There's always going to be the secret of that which is beyond my capacity to understand. And even when I understand that, there's going to be revealed a whole nother level. What the Gemara sometimes calls uncovering one tefach, which is the basic measurement of, the smallest measurement is about the size of a fist. When I uncover one tefach, so then I automatically end up covering two more that are beyond that. And so that's the 𝗪𝗏 𝗪𝗏.
Right, we never arrive.
Right.
With the other 2 points.
That's point number one. Point number two is that even those people who, and perhaps it might be a stretch to read it this way, but even those people, and perhaps mainly those people who have been disaffected from mainstream religion, people who have taken a step back or a step away from religion because it seemed too small or it seemed too impertinent to their lives, are going to be the people who lead the charge towards a deeper understanding of these matters. Sometimes that comes out in the person returning to try to understand Torah and mitzvot. Sometimes it comes out the person just needs to satiate that hunger for the secret of the world, and it comes out in a different way, which is not necessarily bad. For a Jewish person, Rav Kook would see that as being misdirected. The Jewish people have a specific mission in the world, which is to be able to bring out the secrets of what we'll talk about in the next piece. But nevertheless, those people who feel a certain amount of yeush, a certain amount of, that's the language that he uses here, they feel crumbled, they feel they've given up on a certain level on this small, Torah, a small way of living as a Jewish person. They are searching for something much deeper. And so point two is that even those people who seem disaffected, or perhaps mainly those people, are going to be the ones to lead the charge towards this 𝗪𝗏 𝗪𝗏. And the third thing that he says, which is maybe a reverse call back in the other direction of those people who are still part of, the community of Shomrei Torah mitzvos, those who keep Torah and mitzvos, is that the fact that this is going to be difficult to articulate, right? 𝗪𝗏 by its definition is ineffable. The fact that you're going to stumble and stutter as you try to explain these things, and Rav Kook saying to himself that I'm having difficulty putting this into words, is not an excuse not to do it. We have to try to dig and to come up with words and language to describe these internal psychological phenomena, which are spiritual phenomena, and the external phenomena outside. Even though it's difficult and there's so many paradoxes, we still are perforce. We must try to do this, despite the fact that he uses the word 𝗶𝗏𝗼𝗍. We're like mutes when we're just looking at something which is so much bigger than us and so infinite, and we're finite people. It's very difficult, but that's not an excuse not to try to.
Despite the challenge, go there is what Rav Kook is saying.
Yeah.
It sounds to me as though the positive side of the frustration of smallness is this discovery,
right?
Of which takes you to the next. So it's like there's always good in something, even if it doesn't feel right at the time. It sounds like what he's saying is the human drive. It will find its way somewhere, if that's the natural way of the human being, which it appears that's what he's saying, basically.
It will sometimes turn this way or that way, but eventually, what's driving the human being is a call towards sodiut. That's what the piece is called, kriya l'sodiut.